Breaking news from this afternoon. Donegal, who are on the precipice of relegation to Division 2 of the Football League after their defeat last weekend. Paddy Carr has stepped down as the Donegal senior football manager just 5 months into his tenure after a meeting with the players. The Irish News' Cahair O'Kane is with us now. Cahair, how are you getting on?
Good, Will. How are you?
I'm good. This seems like a right mess for Donegal, though. It's only a couple of weeks ago that we were talking about the academy situation and Carl Lacey stepping away. Then what started brightly with a comeback win against Kerry in the National Football League has only accumulated a point in the game since. And Donegal, with their scoring different situation at the bottom of the table as well, are facing relegation down to Division 2. And now Paddy Carr has stepped away just a few games into his tenure.
It is. It feels like one mess on top of the other with the Carl Lacey thing, and then Paddy Carr stepping away kind of out of the blue today. To be fair, there'd been a few whispers since the weekend, but nothing that sort of readied people for an announcement that came fairly swiftly this afternoon. And look, it hasn't been an easy league campaign for them at all. I was at the Kerry game that day, and Kerry just looked like a team that had no work done. Donegal got the last 3 points before half time. They were 6 down, but the last 3 before half time, and then had a wind and a sort of wet Ballybofey field against a team that had no work done. And it was a perfect storm for them that day, and they got their 2 points, but you could see that they were going to struggle through the league, and they have. A point at home to Galway was their only other return, and some fairly poor performances, and not really knowing what they looked like, not really knowing what the structure of the team was or what they were trying to be. Obviously, they were trying to kick the ball a bit more and maybe rest them with that sort of inbuilt hand passing game that is in Donegal and other managers have wrestled with as well. But I think the overriding sentiment is that, I mean, it's not a huge surprise, but people are not. They're mostly only thankful to Paddy Carr for actually taking the job, because of the situation, the way that it unfolded. The managerial appointment at the time, he was the second last appointed a day before Davy Burke went into Roscommon, and it was a long drawn out process. And I don't, there's no feeling of animosity towards Paddy Carr for anything that he's done. Really, he's a gentleman. By all accounts, I've only encountered him a couple of times, but just the job was a real struggle. The campaign was a real struggle, and I suppose no huge surprise that he's made the decision that he's made.
Yeah, it wasn't going to be an easy situation to come into, given that Michael Murphy has been so prominent in that team for over a decade now. McBrearty gets injured out for the season. A lot of change. New management team coming in very late. It took months after Declan Boner had said that he was going to be stepping down for Donegal to actually make the appointment of Carr, and then for Aidan O'Rourke and the rest of the management team to come in. When you're facing into a Division 1 campaign, that was far from an ideal start to the year.
It was, and then a few big injuries on top of that. You mentioned McBrearty, but they haven't had Ryan McHugh yet. They've only had Owen Van Gallagher back. They're only patching together. No Niall O'Donnell, no Shane O'Donnell, things like that. So they're missing a lot of what would have been a team that 10 Ulster finals in 12 years. That is where Donegal have been for the last decade, and that's where their expectation is at now. That's where their levels are at. But there was definitely a sense that even before a ball was kicked, that this year could be a struggle for them. And I suppose particularly then off the back of Michael Murphy's retirement, where was the leadership going to come from? What was the whole thing going to stand up on, basically? When you had a drawn out managerial process that it seemed fairly clear. It was heavily rumoured at the time that Rory Kavanagh would be the next manager, and then he stepped out of the process in the aftermath of St Eunan's sort of controversially losing the Donegal final, and that left a situation then where Paddy Carr again had to step in. It wasn't ideal at all, and it just has never really picked up any momentum since that at all. And then you've had the academy stuff then over the last few weeks, and that has come to the surface, and it just creates an overwhelming feeling of negativity just coming out of the county at the minute.
Yeah, especially in the week that's in it as well, because Donegal County Board had already said a further update will be provided tomorrow night about what's happening with the academies. And when we spoke to Donegal County Board a few weeks ago, they actually said this weekend coming was when they wanted to have their under 16 management in place and want to get the academies going again. So obviously that was an important night for the county board, and now in a way that is overshadowed by 24 hours before that meeting they're searching for a new manager.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, they had outlined to the clubs that there would be a meeting tomorrow night, and then in a further sort of email this morning, they basically told the clubs that it was about dealing with the media commentary around and obviously putting their side of the story. So I'm not so sure it was Michael McGeehan, the coaching officer, had outlaid the plans to clubs in a meeting maybe 2 weeks ago. So that document has been out there as well. The clubs kind of know the structure of what the academy would look like going forward, but I think the meeting tomorrow night was sort of to deal with all the noise that has surrounded it, and sort of to put their side of the story to clubs. They haven't engaged, they haven't made any public comment at all in the wake of a lot of noise about it. So it's a situation. It remains to be seen. They said that the academy was the only thing on the agenda for tomorrow night initially. Now, whether this comes onto the agenda as well, you would imagine there'll be some mention of it or some discussion around it.
Yeah, I had a feeling like a club delegate will bring it up at some point during the meeting. On a final note, when it comes to where Donegal go from here, 1 month out from playing down in the Ulster Championship is a short period for whoever is going to be in charge for that game to turn it around. It seems, based on reports this afternoon, Aidan O'Rourke is going to take charge of the team for the game against Roscommon this coming weekend.
Yeah, it looks like Aidan O'Rourke and Paddy Bradley will stay on for at least this weekend. Not sure beyond that. I'd be surprised if they don't stay on beyond that at this stage. As you say, then it's a short turnaround into the Down game, and that has been a worry in the back of their mind since the start of the year. They've gone up to Newry and beaten Down comfortably on a couple of occasions. They hammered them in their last championship meeting out the gate in Newry, but there's been a feeling with, obviously the thing has slowed down a wee bit for Down since a big start in the McKenna Cup and a bright start to the league. It has tapered off a small bit, but there's definitely a sense of a full house in Newry, and Donegal being the way they are, like Paddy McBrearty still on crutches. There's no real sign of him possibly being fit for that. They're still going to be down a lot of men. Down, even though they've missed out on promotion, will bring something different. It's just become a very dangerous game for Donegal, and one that you'd imagine they're not really looking forward to at this point in time.
No, I'd imagine not, especially now Down can maybe rotate this weekend, knowing the promotion's off the picture, and they've got a 5-week run in against a team who are kind of scrambling to get their management together. Our Gaelic football here on Off the Ball is in partnership with AIB. They're the proud sponsors of the Football, Hurling and Camogie All-Ireland Club Championships. Check out the toughest for more. Cahair, thanks a million for joining us.
Thanks, Will.